In this video, I'm going to be showing you the most optimal binds for keyboard and mouse. I'm going to be going through keybinds, sensitivity, display settings, everything. This video has it covered. If you do enjoy the content, then use my creator code nvbatch in the item shop, like and subscribe, and let's get into it. So if you're playing on PC, then these are the video settings that I recommend. Starting off with window mode, I recommend you either have it on windowed full screen or regular full screen. VSync definitely turn off, otherwise it's going to kill your FPS. And you want your frame rate limit one above what you have your monitor frame rate on. So I play on 144, so I'm going to put that on 160. Rendering mode, obviously have it on performance. This gets the most FPS. Now brightness is weird because it literally varies every season. This season's relatively dark, so I have it on 100 to 125%. Now people actually change the colorblind mode. I just have it off. I think it just looks better. I recommend putting 3D resolution on 100%. Obviously, if you go below 50, your game's going to look like this. So trust me when I say this, have it on a minimum of 95%. So I actually recommend these settings for the graphics quality. I recommend having view distance on far, textures on low, and meshes on low. Obviously, if you have view distance on far, the FPS is going to drop a bit, but the difference from near to far is actually quite a lot. So I recommend having it on far. Moving over to the game tab, obviously, I recommend toggle sprint on, mantle activation on hold jump, hurdle activation on hold forward, and then you want to copy these preferred item slots. Obviously, this is what everyone uses. You want to have your shotgun first, your SMG second, your AR third, sniper fourth, and consumable fifth. All this does is when you pick up a gun, it automatically sends it to that preferred slot. The building tab, you want to have reset building choice on, disable pre-edit option off. Obviously, auto confirm edits is obviously different. Some people have it on, some people have it off. We're going to go over that later though. Simple edit want to have off and off for now. We're going to go over that as well later. Your FOV, you want to have them both maxed out. Replays, you want them all off. Otherwise, this is going to absolutely kill your FPS. And enable idle energy saving, you want to have off. Now let's talk about the most important settings, which is sensitivity and keybinds. So when it comes to mouse sensitivity, this is what I would recommend. Obviously, it's all personal preference, but these are very focused towards beginners and people who are just wanting a good sense. Starting off with the X and Y axis sensitivity, I recommend between 6 and 7.5, and that is if you're playing on 800 DPI. Anything lower or higher is probably going to feel too slow or way too fast, and this is what 90% of players use for their sensitivity. Obviously, if you change DPI, for example, to 1600, then I would put that on like 3.4, but it doesn't really make a difference. I just always have mine at 800 DPI. I've tried 1600, but it doesn't really make a difference. If you don't know what DPI is, then this is a very good example of what it is. So depending on what mouse you use, I use the Glorious Model O. There is 4 different DPI settings: 400, 800, 1600, 3200, and then 6400. So obviously I play on a 7.1 cents right now. So obviously if I switch to 1600, I want to put it to about 3.3. Moving over to the target and scope sensitivity, I recommend having it between 30 and 50, because obviously anything below that or above that will be way too slow or way too fast. Building sensitivity, you want to have on 100%, and editing sensitivity, especially for my settings, I have it on 135. This allows me to edit a bit faster and I won't have to move my mouse as much. But obviously, again, change this on how much mouse space you have. You don't really need to take much notice to the first person mode. Zoom scaling, I have on legacy, and then on use custom diagonals, these are actually very important. I recommend having 70, 90, and 135. This just gives you the best sort of movement, and it's pretty equal to controller. So if you want to have better strafing movement, then definitely have it on these settings. Now let's talk about keybinds, because obviously these are the most important settings on keyboard and mouse. Movement, I have on W, A, S, and D. Jump, obviously spacebar. Sprint, I have it on caps lock. Auto run, I have it on equals. Crouch, I have it on control. Now some people do actually have, instead of W, A, S, and D, they have E, S, D, and F. This does actually give them more buttons, but I've just got used to using W, A, S, and D. And I think a lot of people who are beginners will find W, A, S, D easier. The majority of people do use W, A, S, and D, but if you want to be different, then just use E, S, D, F. Moving over to the combat settings, I recommend having fire on left mouse button, target on right mouse button, reload on R, use on E. On my pickaxe, I use scroll wheel inwards. Weapon slot I have on Q, so I can pull my shotgun out faster. Weapon slots 2, 3, and 4, obviously just have it on the numbers 2, 3, and 4. And then for weapon slots 5, I actually have it on G. I have it on G because it just makes it a lot easier for me to grab my mini shields once I've edited a wall. But if you want to have it on 5, that's completely fine as well. Moving over to the building tab, have crouch while building on control. Wall on one of your side mouse buttons. If you don't, then just put it to a bind that's near your movement bind. Floor on C. Stairs on one of your side mouse buttons. Roof on left shift. Place building, obviously left mouse button. Rotate building on R. Change building material on the right mouse button. Building edit on F. Crouch while editing on control again. Select building edit on left click. click, and obviously reset building edit on scroll wheel. Obviously it's personal preference, but I do recommend these to anyone, even if you're a beginner. We're going to run through some very important editing settings because people have different opinions on them. We're going to start off with confirm edit on release. I personally use confirm edit on release, and a lot of players in Fortnite do as well because it's easier and you have faster mechanics. A very good example is shown on screen here. However, having flashy mechanics and faster edits is not always a good thing. For example, if you have confirm edits on release on, then you obviously have to hold your mouse down. This means you have to be very careful on peaks because if you're not behind the peak correctly, then you could just get one pumped. However, if you have auto confirm edits off, then your peaks will definitely be better. This is because you don't have to hold your mouse down and you can just press the buttons and then hide behind the wall. This is a very good example of what it looks like. Yes, your mechanics won't be nearly as fast, but you have to ask yourself the question, what would you rather have, safer peaks or faster mechanics? And this is the exact divide of players. To be honest, I would say more players do have auto confirm edits on release because, as I said earlier in the video, your mechanics are a lot quicker, but a decent amount of pros do actually have this setting off because it's safer and they get more kills with it on. At the end of the day, it's all personal preference. If you want safer peaks, then have this setting off, but if you want faster and flashy mechanics, then have this setting on. We are also going to quickly run through simple edit because this was a setting that was recently added to the game. If you didn't know, then this setting has made it easier for beginners to start editing. And if you are a beginner watching this video, then you might think, great, I'll turn it on. However, there's a lot of disadvantages and not that many advantages to having this setting on. Here's why. Now, the advantages of simple edit is obviously it's easier to make an edit. And obviously, as I've just stated, for beginners, it makes it a lot easier. However, a big disadvantage of simple edit, and for some reason, is that it can't actually make some edits. These are all the different types of edits that this setting cannot make. These are actually quite important as well. Obviously, you can't triple edit and you can't place cones in a box really, or place different types of stairs. However, some pros are actually getting used to it and some players think it's alright. It might get updated in the future, but for now, I do recommend turning this setting off and just getting used to editing if you are a beginner and grinding it out. That is the end of today's video. I hope you have enjoyed, and if you're a beginner, I hope you have learned something. Check out my other video, which is linked here, because these will also help you to improve your skill level. Thanks for watching.